To read more of my reviews, check out anifilereviews.com or follow me on Twitter at MarsicoX or at Anifile. Today's review, Terror in Resonance. On the surface, this anime could be seen as callous and shocking. I certainly felt that when I first heard about it, and I felt a little uneasy that such a product existed. Terrorism is a very sensitive issue, and when a show touches on that nerve, especially alluding to the events of 9/11, then it's going to spark some controversy. That's what the anime Terror in Resonance does in its first arc. Shock the audience, and yet entice them at the same time. Also known as Terror in Tokyo in its native Japan, the show brings to life the idea of Tokyo under attack. Not by outsider terrorist cells or madmen, but by teenagers. Native Japanese teenagers at that. These aren't your normal kids though. 9 and 12, as they are most often referred to, are the front of a group called Sphinx, who have begun to cause havoc in Tokyo by blowing up key buildings in the capital. Both boys are escapees from some kind of research facility made up of what seems like abandoned children? It's not quite clear as of episode 7, but it's enough to go on for now, who have been exposed to certain experiments in a clinical environment. Some of these children got out and have now spent their lives in hiding, with 9 and 12 choosing to get back at the government-run facility by blowing things up. It must be said though that nobody has died in all the attacks they made, thankfully. One day, the pair run into a girl called Lisa on one recon mission at a local school. She's an outcast from a broken home and has nothing to live for. Fate chooses to deal her a helping hand, albeit a somewhat warped one, by thrusting her into the arms of the duo of bombers. However, things get kicked up a notch later in the show, which throws a spanner in the works and implicate the pair as mass murderers potentially, and the tables turn rather suddenly. It's a fit of twists and turns. Terror in Resonance is not a light-hearted show, not by a long shot. It may have a slightly soft character style with the main protagonists, but the issue is something very serious. In fact, it's quite relevant. Terrorism exists everywhere, and every person of every nation is capable of enacting it, not just one country or region. The show makes Japanese nationals the instigators, attacking police stations, government buildings, and other significant targets, intrinsic to security and regional importance. As of episode 7, it's not quite clear why 9 and 12 are doing this on such a grand scale, but it is possible to deduce that these guys are not all bad. They don't wish to kill anybody and go to great lengths to ensure that by making sure their targets are clear of people or in places which are quiet. The pair refer to the Greek myth of Oedipus on many occasions, the man who was abandoned in the woods who grew up to kill his father and then marry his mother, in their riddles aimed at Tokyo police and a particular detective, Shibazaki. Shibazaki was an ace detective who got carted off to the archive department many years ago. He has now returned to untangle Sphinx's riddles and does so with great drama and intensity. He's very involving and goes above and beyond the average detective. Lisa's introduction to proceedings acts as a means of jeopardy. It throws the duo into disarray, and yet also is their best asset in some cases. She shares the same sentiments concerning identity and abandonment, but their origins are worlds apart. All in all, the show is a complex beast. Every shot in this show has a meaning or conveys some sort of importance, either artistically or narratively. However, upon first viewing, I was a little confused about the overall plot. It seemed to me that the art team got the bigger budget and showed it off greatly. I was left feeling confused at points early on, but I chose to stick at it, and my patience was rewarded with some more narrative tidbits, which tided me over until the next episode. I became intrigued and wanted to know more. I was hooked. Things get even more intriguing when you realize who's part of the anime's creative team. Shinichiro Watanabe and Yoko Kanno return once more to head the directorial and musical teams respectively. Watanabe and Kanno worked together on the anime classic Cowboy Bebop and in the recent series Kids on the Slope. It is safe to say that these previous works have influenced the resulting piece. The character models remind me of Bebop, especially Shibazaki, who looks like a downtrodden Spike Spiegel, as well as being introspective and intelligent, whilst also being proactive. Not only that, but there's also the question of whether the main characters are good or bad. Spiegel and company were bounty hunters, vigilantes, not exactly law-abiding citizens. 9 and 12 are activists who are knocking on the door of terrorism. In the latter's case though, the debate is a lot clearer. These guys are bad in the traditional sense, but they're not evil. They have been wronged by a government which locked them up and stripped away their humanity. They are naturally going to want answers or at least vent some of their anger and resentment. There is a plot twist which amps things up for the pair in their crusade, but I won't spoil it for you. You'll have to watch it. All I can say about the creative side of this anime is that it's fantastic. The level of polish and detail is first rate and the acting is superb. It's clear that this series is going to be a classic in the future. An infamous classic. Not because it's bad, but because it's intricate and unsettling. It stirs the soul. Terror in Resonance is one of those shows which unnerves you. On first impressions, you are baffled and upset when greeted with a show which seems to promote terrorism. That first shot of 12 giggling whilst hurling a grenade like it were a ball is enough to shock on its own, let alone the explosions. Yet as you progress, you are presented with two guys who are just trying to get the truth about why they were experimented on. They don't want to kill, they just want answers, and blowing up government buildings is how they go about things. It's not mindless violence, it's cleverly thought out plots with a brooding soundtrack and masterful storyboarding. It's one of those shows which you have to watch because it's nothing like its fellow summer anime. It's different, and I like different. I just wonder how well a show about terrorism will go down in America, especially when you watch the beginning of episode 2. Good luck, Funimation! Terror in Resonance is available to stream on Funimation's website. My rating? Continue. One of the standout series of this season. If you like what you heard, please visit my Patreon campaign to help grow Anifile at patreon.com/MasakoX, or follow me on Twitter @MasakoX or at Anifile.